Hello and welcome back to Sweet Spot DFS. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been 7 weeks, almost 2 months, basically. The only significant tournaments that we really had were the President's Cup and the Hero World Challenge, which wasn't even a PGA Tour event. So we basically have no recent form, like stats whatsoever to go by, because we don't have any tournaments that were within the last 7 weeks, and that's usually where my recent form stats come from. So we won't be talking about recent form. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I usually go over course history, recent form, some last week, last year bucket system, which we won't be really getting at because it's a limited field, super limited. There are only 34 golfers in this field. We had a limited field at the President's Cup. We had a limited field at the Hero World Challenge. So we really aren't going to go through a lot. I will go over my favorite plays. Towards the end of the video, I will also have, I'll go through a lineup build, basically, or just kind of a strategy of building lineups. I usually do that in all of my videos. And I'll have a timestamp down below in the the description. There we go. So that was the word I was looking for. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the video. I usually start it out with course information, and then we go to course history. We're playing in Hawaii, or the PGA Tour is playing in Hawaii, at the Kapalua Plantation course. There is another golf course that the LPGA used to play at. I don't think they play anymore, called the Bay course. This one's the Plantation course. It's the longest one there. It's going to be playing around 7,500 yards, but I looked through each round last year, and they changed it quite a bit. The last day was like 7,400 yards, 7,460 or something like that. So they're going to change the tee boxes around. What you guys need to know is it's 7,500 yards. That's a pretty long distance. However, it is being played at elevation. The ball travels pretty far, and if you have a nice down breeze, it's going to go quite a bit further. It's a par 73, so we have one more par 5 and one less par 4. We have Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass. That'll be important. We'll look at that. And in fact, you're going to see the stats. Yeah, by the way, guys, I made a couple renovations. We have stats that are flying down at the bottom. I have a green screen, so now you can see more of the screen. I want you guys to be able to see more of the spreadsheet. And that also, if you're on mobile, you'll be able to see the information a little bit more clear, I would hope. So those are the renovations. I did want to create an intro video. Like an intro for all my videos. I haven't gotten there yet. Hopefully that's somewhere in the future. And yeah, working on that database still. So anyways, back to the course information. Tiff Eagle Bermuda, we'll go through that later. Designed by Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw. This course opened up in 1999. This tournament has been playing here ever since. I should say the tournament's been playing here since 1999. I don't quite remember what year it opened. Either way, let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheet. I have the notes page up right now, but we'll go ahead and get into the course history. I have this filtered right now by golfers who are playing. So that's why we have the P's over here in the 2020, and I also have it sorted by their average finishing position. As you can tell, Dustin Johnson is by far and away the best golfer in the field for course history. He's played here the most, and he has, basically the better finishes. Ricky Fowler is really close behind, no better than 4th in any of his years, but he is trending, in a good direction. So I guess take that as you will. I don't know. I mean, at the Hero World Challenge, at the President's Cup, I was kind of following Ricky. I just don't think he's quite there yet. I don't know if he had an injury. We know Dustin Johnson had an injury, had a knee injury that was kind of plaguing him towards the end of the year. He has looked good in his last couple performances, or at least his last one at the President's Cup. So really the top 2 here at course history, they're head scratchers for me. Jon Rahm is kind of coming in. I know I don't have recent form data, but he is coming in with the hottest recent form. And Gary Woodland, I would say he's also playing pretty well, or was. He didn't do the greatest at the President's Cup, but prior to that, he was playing pretty well. Brendan Todd won twice in the off season. I won't say the off season, but the swing season, as we like to call it, between September and now, basically. I'm not thinking he is coming in with extremely hot recent form, so I'm not too high on him either way. Last time he played here was in 2015. The same year, Patrick Reed won. So Patrick Reed does have decent stats, and I usually like to delete the outlier to see, you know, whereabouts some of these golfers would be if, you know, you took away their poor finish. And really, Patrick Reed does have some good finishes, so I'll definitely be looking at Patrick Reed. I'm not gonna go through all of them. I know there's only a few more to go, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. We would typically go from course history to recent form, which I'm still gonna do, but we're not gonna talk about recent form really. I'm gonna go to the 2019 recent form page, which I just noticed that I'm pretty dark on the screen. Oh well. It is kind of hitting sunset pretty soon, so I need to get better lighting, which I will eventually. Anyways, going on recent form, one thing I want you guys to notice, I do keep track of the optimal lineup and how many DK dollars you need to spend in order to get to that optimal lineup. Pretty much every year so far, in the last 2 years, I should say, you basically want to use up your whole salary, and that's primarily because if we look at the 20 DK page, you're gonna see a lot of golfers. I mean, we have, how many is this? 12 golfers over, well, 11 golfers over the average of 83.30, which, or 83.30 is what the average is on DK to comprise a lineup. Even if you were to use some of these at the 7.6 and you use some above, like, it really narrows your lineup. So really over half is really difficult to construct a lineup together. Do you really think your best golfers are coming from down here? No, they're not. I mean, we got some golfers that have some really good form and that I like a lot down here, but you're not going to comprise a lineup of nothing but, like, if you comprise a lineup of those golfers, so these 6 golfers, 45,300, so you'd be leaving 4,700 on the table. That's not a good idea. You're going to want somebody from up here. One of these guys will finish in the top 3, I guarantee you it. I really like Justin Thomas, and if it isn't Thomas, it's Rahm, and if we're going with course history, it's going to be DJ, and Xander, we all know, is really good. So one of these golfers will be in the top 3. You're going to want them in order to win a tournament, basically. So going back, just want to show you guys optimal lineup. Don't be afraid to spend nearly all of 50,000. You're gonna want to. And all of these weeks here that we see now, when I first constructed recent form tabs, I just went with the last 7 tournaments, which the WGC and the Sanderson Farms Championship, those are all. This counts as 1 week. So you have the last 7 tournaments, but that would have been 7 weeks prior to this tournament. Like, this would have been the tournament right before the Tournament of Champions, which would have been 7 weeks prior. I'm sorry, 7 weeks of either not playing PGA Tour caliber golf or just not golfing in general, working on your game. You're not going to have any form, like tournament form coming into this tournament. So this is all irrelevant. All of this information here is irrelevant, really. Don't pay attention to it. What we're going to look at is basically the last year finishes within each of these. And you can even look at the course history. As we can see, golfers who do well at this tournament have played here before and probably played the year before. And as we keep going through here, you're going to see a lot of golfers that still have course history that are within the top 6, top 7. And when we start getting closer to 2014, which this wouldn't have had any, I wouldn't have had any course history attached to this. Because 2013 is usually the year I start all of my stats. And why I don't have 2013 on here, I'm not sure. Because we do have 2013 stats. Okay, well, it's my apology. Should have had 2013 on here. I'm going to have to look at this. Okay, sure. Well, that's unfortunate. I should have 2014 on, or 2013 recent form on here. Oh, I know why there isn't a recent form tab. I get it. Because there wouldn't have been any tournaments prior to. The 2013 Tournament of Champions would have started the entire, where I started. The 2013 season is when I started keeping track of data, or I should say recording data. I don't go any further back than that. So we wouldn't have even had recent form going into it. And in fact, we wouldn't have had recent form period for any of these. So I don't have the last year for 2014. I really should. But as you can see, I mean, it pays to have golfed here prior to. When we go back to the notes page, I keep track of last year, last week, usually in these tables here, but I only have the last year table. And I don't have it color coded, so don't mind the colors over here. Just don't pay any attention. Instead, I've got the ranks over here of golfers who finish in these buckets, basically. So these buckets are frequencies of golfers who finish 1st through 20th, 20th through 40th, 40th through 60th. Now, these are irrelevant, like I said, because we only have 34 golfers in this tournament, and typically that's as many that we have any given year for this tournament. So we're just going to be looking at 1st through 20th, 20th through 40th, and did not play. The did not plays, definitely by far the highest ranking one, with at least 3 finishing inside the top 10 and at least 2 finishing inside the top 5. So we're definitely going to want to pinpoint those to go along with golfers who finish 1st through 20th. You know, we see one of those. Funny enough, this 20 through 40 range, which would be our 3rd rank, there's only one golfer that fits that, and that's Patrick Reed. So as you can see, when we scroll through here, you only see one yellow color. The last year bucket score here of 3, that's Patrick Reed. So when we go and construct lineups here towards the end of the video, we'll go through and we'll see how many Patrick Reed lineups. I do like him, honestly, coming into this tournament. So I think a lot of his shenanigans from the Hero as well as the President's Cup kind of will go, I wouldn't say so much to the wayside, but I think, you know, I don't think you have to worry about it. So yeah, so we went through course history, recent form, the last year bucket. I typically talk about tee times and who are paired together, because pairings do matter. Golfers who are golfing with better golfers, or golfers that they enjoy golfing with, will golf better. Believe it or not, golf is a mental game, and playing with someone you dislike, I mean, it can motivate you, but more likely it's just going to be completely annoying. You're not going to enjoy it, and you're probably not going to play that well. So I try to find some edge when it comes to finding golfers that are playing together. And unfortunately, I don't like any of the pairings except for maybe Cameron Champ and Dylan Fratelli, Nate Lashley and Colin Morikawa. I like Lanto. I'm not sure how I feel about him with Brennan Todd, but you know, these would be your hottest golfers basically of the swing season. So I think it would be definitely worth playing them. I probably would be more interested in any of these pairings down here. Whatever I can make work. The only one that I don't like is Paul Casey and Ches Reavie. Just don't care for it. So unfortunately, I don't have more, you know, in-depth analysis for the starting times. Everyone's starting on hole 1. It's going to be later in the afternoon. These rounds should go pretty quickly. But yeah, I do like Xander and Justin Thomas. They're just really expensive, so it's going to be difficult to play them. Playing one or the other, I think, was going to be fine. Patrick Reed and Kevin Kisner, now that's a pretty good combo to have, because they're fairly cheap, or cheaper-ish. Definitely worth going for them. Other than that, I don't have anything else to talk about tee times. I can look at like the 2019 DK page, which I don't have anything up for, so that's unfortunate. We don't have to look at that. There really isn't anything to look at when we look at past performances, except for last, like course history, basically. Let's go ahead and filter through this, and we'll start talking about the grass stats now, because that is usually what I go to next. I'm gonna go ahead and hide all of this. Sure, we'll hide this. And now we'll just talk about the grass stats, basically. So your best overall Bermuda golfer is Matthew Wolff, but he's only played 2 events. So I then I usually get rid of golfers who haven't golfed a lot. That don't apply to this number quite a bit, like Dustin Johnson, 31 events. He is a 24.58 Bermuda finish. And I mean, a tournament like this is going to skew those stats because the worst you can place is 34th. So it's not really going to hurt. Just realize that one. But yeah, it's also really good to see which golfers do well just overall for Bermuda. So Dustin Johnson, Patrick Cantlay, Matt Kuchar, Justin Thomas, and Jon Rahm are basically your top 5. And you'll see those names scrolling down right underneath here. You can also look at the rest of the golfers that are in line here. I do like golfers in this 20. So like Kuchar, Cantlay, Dustin Johnson. I really like Justin Thomas. I firmly believe this is going to be his year where he's going to be the player of the year. I think he's going to be the Brooks of like last year. This guy, minus his injury a year ago, can't remember when it was. I think it was around the WGC Mexico. I think it was a Honda Classic, I think, is when he injured his arm or his forearm or something like that. And then he just wasn't really the same, but towards the end of the year, like, he poured it on. I think Justin Thomas, he is the golfer to look at after this year. So I'm going to play a lot of Justin Thomas if you couldn't figure that one out. And especially when we look at top 10 percentage, or golfers who finish inside the top 10, like, so you have Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Kevin Kisner. Those guys, like, these numbers, pretty darn good. And in really constructing a lineup of these golfers, probably a smart idea, honestly. The 2020 Bermuda stats, I mean, we have 3 tournaments that comprise of this number. So these golfers maybe golfed one Bermuda event and missed a cut. So I don't know exactly how important to take any of this. I do like Munoz quite a bit based off of this stat. For Telly also, he did pretty well. Now these percentages here not very good, but like Sebastian Munoz, that's pretty darn good. Cam Champ, Adam Long, those are decent numbers. Definitely golfers that I would find a little bit more interest in playing. Yeah, that's kind of how I'd go. Now, when we get into these swing stats over here, I call them swing stats. I know other people just call them straight up stats. That's fine. You can call them stats. They are stats. The stats I like are result oriented. So, this all has finishing positions baked into the stats, into these stats. Same with this number. Same with this number. Same with these numbers. To me, these are better stats than somebody's tee to green stats. And the reason I'm going to get into this now, I get into this a lot in my videos, but since this is the beginning of the new year, not the new PGA season, but the new year, I might have some new golfers, some new people coming over here and looking at this video. The reason I don't like this is a snapshot of the stats leading up to this tournament. We haven't played in 7 weeks. So honestly, like, these stats don't matter. And even when you have people looking back at the last 52 events, or the last 52 rounds, the last 24 rounds, the last whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to find like a progression of golfers who are doing better. So like, you might have golfers who okay, Lanto Griffin is a good example. Lanto Griffin, you wouldn't have known anything about, but when you look at his stats, you're like, hey, this golfer is actually golfing pretty well. He's not a bad golfer. Same goes with Sebastian Munoz. When you look at his stats, you're gonna say, hey, he's not a bad golfer. But if you look at someone like, here, let's go ahead and if you were to look at someone like Patrick Cantlay or Justin Thomas, no shit, they're good golfers, right? Like, obviously, super good golfers. Off the tee, Corey Connors, maybe you don't know so much, you don't know a lot about Corey Connors. This will give you some kind of insight. Hey, he's pretty decent off of the tee. Same with approach and tee to green. So he is a golfer that maybe you should, you want to play. Same goes with, ShotScan's approach. The only thing I don't like, I'll go back to this here. I don't like these stats very much because I think a lot of people use them wrong. Like, again, this is a snapshot leading up. It was from the RSM Classic. That was when the last tournament was played. And again, that was 7 weeks ago. Where's John Rahm in any of these stats? You're not gonna know unless you take in some Euro stats and then somehow cross examine them. But that's not even my point when it comes to any of this. My point is this week's tournament probably won't matter. Like, these stats won't matter to find the winner. Now, we have how many golfers? How many golfers don't have stats? 7. So we're going to have 27 golfers who do have stats. How many of these in this dark green color are we going to find inside the top 10? We might find 2, but that's not good enough to say ShotScan approach matters for this tournament. But then we're also going to find the opposite side of it, right? We're going to find people who, like analysts, are going to talk about, well, in this tournament, the winner was top 5 in tee to green, top 5 in putting, top 5 in approach. Well, no shit. He played well enough to be at the top of those stats. That kind of analysis to me bothers the hell out of me, because you can't look at a snapshot of a tournament and say, hey, this tournament, we can look at putting, we can look at tee to green, we can look at approach, we can look at these stats because last year's winner did well in these stats. That makes no sense. The only thing you can do to me to find the best analysis, what were their stats leading up to the tournament from last year? The winner of the tournament last year, what were his stats leading up to the tournament? And then looking at this week's tournament, the stats here, so like Graham McDowell, yeah, obviously doesn't have any stats, but if we went to like Ryan Palmer, 0.35 and off the tee. Well, if we were to find somebody inside the top 5 from last year leading up to this tournament who had something around like 0.4 tee, off the tee, we would feel comfortable playing Ryan Palmer. Hey, he's a golfer that can do well here. And the thing is, why people stick to these types of stats is they remind them of baseball, they remind them of football, they remind them of hockey, they remind them of basically sports that you can use physical aggression and also controlled environments. Most of those are controlled environments. Now, football and baseball, you can make an argument saying wind and other elements affect it. Absolutely. But not as much as golf. And in fact, every single week, there is a new environment that these golfers are golfing in. And I say that, I say it this way. They're different golf courses. They provide different challenges. Some have more sand. Some golfers aren't great in the sand. Some golfers aren't the greatest ball strikers. So finding the sand is going to be detrimental to them. Same thing applies with length. Some golf courses are really long. Shorter golfers are just not going to have the best time unless they're absolutely perfect with their approach shots into the green and that they're making putts over 20 feet. And those are things you can't really forecast. And I get it. You're going to see that with a bunch of analysts. They're going to be so driven by, they want to tell you golf is volatile. There's so much variance in golf. Well, yes and no. Like, golf is a very mental game. It is you against yourself. Every single shot. What did you do last hole? That's in your mind. What did you do last week? That's in your mind. How did you finish last week? And what are you going to do about, is this going to give you motivation going into this tournament? Is it going to provide you confidence? Those are all elements in golf. Now, sure, you can say about any other sport, but it's more so in golf because of how mental it is. Being a golfer gives you an advantage of looking at these stats, because if I were to go to a tournament where I've never played before, I'm just looking at the contours of the golf course. I'm looking at my yardage book. I'm seeing which distances I need to hit to. Now, if I've played that golf course before, I actually have a track record of what I've done on that course. I'll remember a hole and say, yeah, you don't want to go over the corner because your margin of error is so small that if you don't hit it perfect, you're going to find yourself, you're probably going to get yourself a 2-stroke penalty. That I wouldn't have known the first time playing. And even on practice rounds, you wouldn't quite understand. But playing in a tournament with all of that pressure, that matters. That's what a lot of these stat geeks don't understand when it comes to trying to analyze golf. You're not going to know what some of these golfers are capable of. Like, think of Jon Rahm, for instance. The guy is very volatile with his emotions. If he was more calm, cool, level-headed, he'd probably have the consistency of Dustin Johnson. But he isn't. So you're going to see him win by like 7 shots. You're also going to see him not make a cut. You're also going to see him blow a lead because he just gets under his skin. Like, those things you have to take into account because they are important. But yeah, let's go on. Let's get through this. I say all that because what we're getting at is these swing stats. I just don't care that much for them. It's better to kind of review them afterwards than try to forecast who's going to do well based off of these stats. If we were to look at the results, you're going to see like everyone's around 20 under or better. We have Jordan Spieth at 30 under. Jordan Spieth in 2015, 2016, like, the guy was unstoppable. His iron play was fantastic. His putting was phenomenal. Somebody like him can win. And he's known to be a good putter. He's known to be a good iron player. But he can win. Then you got JT. You have DJ. You have Xander. Gary Woodland. Jon Rahm. Hideki Matsuyama. I guess Patrick Reed. Again, Patrick Reed. Jimmy Walker. Like, Zach Johnson's really the only golfer you see, as well as maybe Steve Stricker. I'm not sure in 2013 he was really that short of a hitter. But like these guys here who will wedge you to death, basically, they're your short hitters. Otherwise, everyone's, fairly long. It's a mix. Like, look at everyone here. Snedeker, not a long hitter. Bradley, yeah. Watson, yeah. Stricker, not so much. Even if we went down here, Tommy Gainey, not so much. Come in here, Streelman, not so much. Simpson, not so much. It's going to be all over the place. So that's why I want to look at basically some kind of mixture of golfers who did not play the year before and golfers who, finished first through 20th, basically. Which, again, we're not going to have much variance when it comes to that. So I say it, but it's not really going to be that important. Okay, so let's go ahead and start making some lineups. 30 minutes in, I kind of went on a little rant there. Let's make this a little quicker. So what I like to do, basically, I usually create somewhere between 30 and 40 lineups. And I will anchor players, or I'll anchor lineups with players that I like. So I like Justin Thomas a lot. I'm going to put him in around 10 of my lineups. Jon Rahm, I'm going to put him in like 7. Sure. DJ, just because of his course history, we'll put him in 6. And Xander, we'll throw him in a few. I'm just gonna put him in 5. Well, I don't remember how many. Let me double check how many lineups that I have created. So right now I have 20, but I'll probably do a couple more. So I'll just actually leave that like that, and then we'll grab some other golfers as we come through. Now, what I'm gonna do is basically I'm gonna look at Bermuda stats, honestly, and course history. Okay, so course history, Bermuda stats. I like Kuchar. Let's throw Kuchar in a bunch of our lineups. So I'll just throw him there. I'll throw him here. You know, I'm gonna put him in a bunch of my lineups. So Kuchar has a decent. Cantlay does too. Sure, Matthew Wolff. I'll throw him in a couple as well. Kind of want to find some decent golfers like that have, you know, some savings. So I'll throw some Kisner in. And honestly, I'm probably going to throw Kisner like over here on some of these. I just want to get a sense of who I want to play. And actually, maybe what I'll do, something like this. I'm going to throw these golfers over here. These are golfers that I like. Sure, we'll put Patrick Reed up there. I saw somebody right away that I liked. Ryan Palmer. Keith Mitchell's pretty interesting. Like his Bermuda, he's a Bermuda golfer. He might not be a bad play, especially yeah. I'll consider him for like a pivot, basically. Munoz I like. Don't here. Let's go ahead and go by this now. So Munoz. I don't see anyone else that's really cheap. One golfer I did like was Lanto, and I don't know. He has not the greatest of Bermuda finishes. Interesting. I really liked Lanto, and I think finding someone or Lanto, someone in the 6,000 price point is going to be pretty huge. Like, is this the cheapest I go? I don't think so. I mean, I like Lanto. I'm sorry. I'm not sure exactly how you say his name. Tyler Duncan and JB Holmes actually aren't bad plays either. This might actually be a time where we cascade, honestly. Because we probably don't have a bad, you know, some bad lineups here. Oh man. I'm not sure how to construct these lineups. Because I'm not gonna have a lot of variance. I'm not gonna have a lot of differences as to who I really want to choose and play. I'm gonna go ahead and put Fratelli up there. I'm not gonna have a huge list of golfers I like, honestly. I really don't. Like, Kisner's probably the best value. Probably with that 33.96% chance of getting inside the top 10 at 7,700. Pretty good. Kevin Na, that's also really good. And Palmer and Munoz. All right, so for the sake of time, what I'm going to do is we are going to cascade. There we go. There's a lineup. So if I went down every, let's see, sure. Go ahead, replace Thomas with Rahm, Kuchar, Morikawa, Wolf with Morikawa. Can we do that? No, not. So Wolf is down here. Sure, let's throw Corey Connors. Kevin Kisner at 7,700. Where are you at, Kisner? Right here. Go with Corey Connors again? Sure. Palmer. Telly. Munoz. With Palmer? No, we already have Palmer. Fratelli again? Sure. And then... Okay, so we made it all the way here. So that's one way to do it. That's not terrible. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll get my low price guys over here that I really like. So we'll go with like these guys. I don't like Herman. I don't care for Trainer. Holmes, sure. Maybe some Graham McDowell. I don't really care for Graham whatever. And maybe Nate Lashley. Well, all right, let's put those two guys there. So like these would be my low price guys. And what I would do is I just throw them in this column here a bunch of times. Basically select all of it and hit this randomized range and it'll just change wherever they are. And at least that way I have kind of even ownership with all of them. And then I don't so much care if Nate Lashley's paired with Justin Thomas X amount of times. Or Graham McDowell is paired with Justin Thomas X amount of times. Or Matt Kuchar, whatever. This way I just do this that way. And then I get like my second tier of golfers and I'll throw them here. And then whatever I have left, I will just construct with whomever. Same will go with like, I could also do that with the top tier guys here. Like I like these guys so much that if I just only wanted to play these guys or just say, all right, so 4 times as many of these golfers and then I'll throw like these two in. And then, you know, do this 4 again and then maybe another Cantley, Fowler, whatever, something like that. And then I go up here and I randomize the range. So that way they just show up in different places. And again, I'm not looking who I'm pairing golfers up with. This is my way of randomizing who I'm pairing them up with. But those are basically my favorite golfers that I just showed you. And like this would be probably a lineup that I feel confident with. You know, if we go back, obviously the golfers who did not play, if we go back to the DK page, or actually just go back to the tables here, we want at least 2 golfers who did not play. I mean, we'll find 2 golfers most likely inside the top 5 who did not play. So those are our dark green golfers. You want more of those, obviously, than you want the light green golfers, which, again, this isn't color-coded, but this would be our light green, the 2s. And we see that here. I mean, a maximum of 8 golfers inside the top 10. The lowest amount was 3, but you could average around 4 or 5 of these golfers. So that's not bad when we look at our lineup. You know, this dark green represents the guys who did not play last year. Now, of those golfers, what we really could do, since we know course history matters, is we could take away all of the blanks. And then look at the golfers who did not play last year and just see their course history. So like Kevin Kisner kind of jumps off. Patrick Cantley might actually be a good play, or Ricky Fowler. Now that I see this, maybe now I change my mind as to how many, you know, of these golfers I'm going to anchor. And basically that's how I'm going to create these lineups. And doing this type of analysis will get you on those golfers. So if Cantley and Fowler finish inside the top 3, top 5, other than their name value, what's telling you to play them? Are you coming over and looking at their stats and going, oh, well, Patrick Cantlay is the top tee to green. I have to play Cantlay. Well, we don't have anything for Ricky Fowler. Course history, maybe? You know, like, you're finding different pieces, but maybe it's just the fact that they didn't play here the year before and have course history. So maybe now that I see it this way, you know, now I want all of them who just, you know, maybe I tell you one of these golfers is going to finish inside the top 5. Would that be bold? And how I got there was based off of if they played last year or if they didn't play last year and if they have course history. That's how I got here. It's a different way of looking at constructing lineups. So I really honestly, now that I see this, I really like Kisner. I think I'm gonna own a bunch of Kisner, a bunch of Fowler, maybe a bunch of Cantlay, and it's based off of this. Call me crazy, I don't care. This is how I'm gonna do it. And really, you probably safer. I mean, they're all good. Like Kisner, Cantlay, they all have good Bermuda stats. Decent course history. It's probably worth playing. 1, maybe 2, maybe all 3 of them. You know, that's not a bad idea. So typically my videos go about 60 minutes long, usually an hour long. This one, because there's not a lot in there, I'm not going to worry too much about it. So I'm going to leave the video at this. It's getting dark outside. It is New Year's Eve. I am going to look to have some fun tonight. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Please leave a comment, a like, subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you guys do well this week.